Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name's Joshua Ross. I'm the enrollments manager here at ForthRev for our LSE Career Accelerators. And today we'll be hosting a panel discussion around the future of digital marketing. So using AI and analytics to stay ahead. AI and analytics are transforming the digital marketing industry, and so we're here to explore how you can leverage them to grow your career and drive results. A few little housekeeping things to start with, and what we'll explore today. So we'll be firstly looking at the AI and analytics revolution in digital marketing. We'll look at some real-world use cases of AI-driven marketing, the skills you need to stay ahead, career paths as well in AI-powered marketing, and then finally how the LSE Digital Marketing Strategy and Analytics Career Accelerator can help you to achieve your goals. Now we've got a couple of ways that you, the audience, are able to engage with us today. Firstly, you've got the chat function. I can see some people are already posting in there. We will also post relevant links and information for you as well throughout in the chat. What's important is actually the Q&A function, which you'll see at the bottom. If you do have a question that you want to ask of the panelists over the next hour, that is where you need to ask the question. If you post in a live chat, we will ask you to post it again in the Q&A function. So please do that. It's never too early to start posting your questions if you want to get in first. And we'll also be running a range of polls as well to engage with you on a deeper level over the next hour or so. Moving on. Let's start and introduce your panel. I'm going to ask both Simon and Claire if you can turn your cameras on. Welcome. And would love both of you to briefly introduce yourselves. Let's start with Simon.
Thank you very much, and welcome to everybody. It's great to be with you today. My name is Simon Bullmore. Right now, I'm one of the lead facilitators on the Digital Marketing Strategy and Analytics Career Accelerator at LSE. That's how I spend part of my time. The rest of my time I actually spend helping people with digital marketing strategy. So helping people learn about it, implement it in their businesses. And so I do a lot of reading about this, a lot of research, and I'm really interested in the topic of AI and analytics, as we all are at the moment in marketing, because it is changing how we think about things and how we do things. In terms of my background, I've been in marketing and sales for over 20 years. I've focused on digital marketing for the last 12 or 13. Started my journey when I started my own brand of socks, which I sold online, and then moved on to things that maybe other people would call more serious, but I think of it as more sustainable. But really that's where I learned about digital marketing in the cutthroat world of online retail. But more recently, I've run my own agency and am a fractional chief marketing officer for startup businesses. And so what really interests me is both the art and the science of digital marketing. So the opportunity to do things that are really creative, fun and engaging, but to do it in a really sort of scientific, data-led way. And that, I think, is the key to being a good digital marketer.
Brilliant. Thanks for the intro, Simon, and welcome again. Claire.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for showing up and spending time with us today. My name is Claire Dupree. I am currently the I'm actually the brand and product marketing director at ForthRev. I've been in marketing for over 20 years now, and I've held all sorts of roles in the space. I started my career as a copywriter. I have held roles of CMO. I've worked as a consultant in my own business. And more recently, about a year ago, I founded an AI marketing community called Maiden, which is an all-female global community of digital marketers learning AI literacy together. So that's been a really fun journey and helped me stay accountable to my own growth in the AI and marketing space. So I'm looking forward to sharing some of our learnings with you in the session today.
Brilliant. Great to have you with us today, Claire. Okay, so let's set the tone a little bit for everyone and have a look at AI and analytics revolution that's occurring in marketing. And you can see here that we've reached mainstream adoption of AI in marketing, with 87% of marketers using or experimenting with AI, but with 68% using it daily. And in some other examples of key AI and analytics marketing applications, we've got ad targeting powered by data analytics, AI-assisted content creation and SEO leveraging analytics insights. You've got hyper-personalization driven by predictive analytics, and real-time customer interaction optimized through AI chatbots and analytical feedback. So the pace of AI-driven transformation in marketing is really staggering, as you can see. And what used to take days, like audience segmentation, for example, can now be done in seconds. And so it's the companies that leverage AI and data effectively are winning in today's digital landscape. So let's start with the panel discussion and chatting to our two experts here. Claire, I'll start with you. And what are the key challenges companies face when integrating AI into their marketing strategies?
Thanks, Josh. I think, wow, there are many challenges at the moment. It is still an evolving space. I think one of the things we have to recognize with the way AI is being adopted in any organization, and specifically in a marketing team, is what's interesting about this is that it's been bottom up. So typically technology adoption happens top down. So leadership understands that there's, a tech that's come into the space and starts leading the charge in terms of change management for how that technology should now be leveraged and used in the function. But what we've seen with AI is this sporadic individual adoption at an individual level that's been bottom up. And it's been very much left to the individual marketer in their capacity to figure out the tech and the value that it can add in their work. And that's led to the onus being on individuals having to do pilots and share use cases and motivate for further ROI in AI tools because it's evolving so fast. So I think one of the biggest challenges there is this disconnect between leadership in a marketing team and the individual pushing for AI evolution. And the baseline there is that the two have to meet in the middle. There has to be an alignment on AI literacy and AI policy and pilot projects to experiment with the evolving technologies that are coming out and being offered by the various AI tools that are coming. So I think that for me is one of the biggest challenges I'm seeing with teams trying to adopt AI in marketing.
Great. And Simon, feel free, if you've got anything additional to add, jump in.
I'm going to certainly agree with what Claire's saying. I think fundamentally it comes down to what we're calling broadly data and AI literacy. And generally what we mean by that is understanding actually what the potential of these tools are and how to use them in a risk-free and ethical way to kind of deliver the value that you're expecting them to deliver. That is all of those. There's a lot in that, right, to think about. But fundamentally, I would certainly agree that kind of the burden is both on leaders to improve their data and literacy so they can help their teams make the best decision, create the context and the situation for AI and data to be used effectively. But certainly I would still put it on sort of individuals to really kind of grasp, okay, what is it I need to do to use this tool effectively? Because I think fundamentally, when it comes to AI, the people that are really leveraging it effectively are people that know their stuff already and are using, I'm not saying exclusively because you can use it to shortcut, you can use it to learn, but the people, I would say the people that are getting most value from it are people who have a degree of experience, but so can therefore recognize both how it can be used effectively, but also potential limitations. So yes, great. So, a great example, to your point earlier, we can now do regression analysis in minutes, right? And it would have regression analysis is where you're trying to understand whether two things correlate together, right? Does does a certain change mean that people convert more? But you need to be able to query it properly. So I think the basic point is AI won't make you a brilliant marketer, right? You need to have the fundamentals of literacy and critical thinking. And I think that is the biggest obstacle, is people thinking that it's a sticking plaster for everything, and it's not.
Thanks, Simon. And so, whilst you're hot with answers here, I've got a question for you. So, how have analytics specifically improved your ability to leverage AI in marketing campaigns?
Yeah. I mean, I think we just need to sort of bear in mind that what we mean by analytics is being able to get useful insights from data that you can then use to inform decision making. And so that's really at its most fundamental. What we're trying to do here is to make better decisions faster and with more confidence. And that's really what the fundamentals are. How that actually plays out in practice depends. But I alluded to something earlier about kind of doing very kind of complicated analytics that would have taken a long time. And you mentioned segmentation. I think it's a really good example. So very often the issue that we have in marketing these days often isn't a lack of data. It's what insights we can get from that data and whether it can inform useful decisions that then lead to useful action. So being able to have an AI to support you in that process then helps you with things like personalization. So you can start to say, okay, well, what does this audience really care about, right? How's Josh and Claire? What are their different preferences? And actually, we can then use AI systems to then serve up what you each care about. So you might be buying the same products, but one of you might be more value focused, right? I want this to be a great deal for me. One of you might be more interested in how it's going to make you look, right? So if you might be both buying the same coat, but for you, Claire, it might be, well, this is going to keep me dry, and Josh might be, this is going to make me look fancy. And so kind of knowing that you care, that you have slightly different preferences, and then focusing on that has been shown to really, give big returns. And so we're starting to see like 20-to-1 ROI. So for every pound, dollar, euro that we spend on personalization, we're getting about $20 back. And we're seeing that much quicker. So that's how I'd summarize it. It gives us better insights more quickly, and we can then use those insights to then do things like personalization. So for me, this is what comes back to the science of kind of how do we connect to people in authentic ways for them. And it's just making that easier, I think, fundamentally.
Makes sense. Thanks, Simon. We've got a poll for everyone to participate in, our first one. So that's going to come up in a moment. And the question is, what area of AI and marketing excites you most? So you can see there's 4 choices there: AI-powered content creation, predictive analytics and audience insights, AI-driven personalization, or automation and efficiency. Take your choice. Interested to hear. And a little bit of housekeeping. Love the eagerness, love the questions coming in. Reminder, there's the chat function and there's the Q&A function. If you're posting questions, please use the Q&A function. The chat function is where we'll post relevant, useful, important links. We don't want that to get lost in kind of the clutter there. So if you can, please post your questions in the Q&A function. But happy to see some good questions already coming through. Moving on. Okay, so why AI and data matters for marketing. So AI and analytics aren't just, as we know now, nice to have. They're becoming the foundation of modern marketing. And if you're not using data to make decisions, you're already behind. So we can see here some interesting data points in terms of career growth. Marketing roles involving AI skills grew by 237% in 2025. So there's the career opportunities. From a salary advantage standpoint, AI proficient marketers, 45% higher salaries in the UK. So that's between 45,000 to 75,000 pound. The in-demand skills. So what are going to help you land those roles in that great salary? It's data analytics, it's AI content creation, machine learning, and marketing automation. And in terms of future-proofing your career, 69% of executives, so people already working within the field, predict AI will create more marketing jobs than it replaces. So yeah, interesting. In any tech role, there's fear around AI, but it's really about how you as a digital marketer can work with AI and harness it rather than it replacing you. Claire and Simon, a question for you both. How has AI reshaped your approaches to marketing, and what are some of the results that you've seen?
After you, Claire.
Sure. So I will admit that about a year and a half ago, when a lot of the hype around ChatGPT, we had the ChatGPT moment in 2023 when ChatGPT really became mainstream. And around that point, I definitely started feeling a little bit anxious. And it wasn't so much anxiety around, will this technology replace my job or do my work for me, but more an anxiety around missing an insane opportunity for the next wave of what marketing is going to look like. So I just want to start there, actually, with the narrative that right now is such an interesting opportunity for digital marketers because there are no experts in this space. No one can claim to be an expert in AI-driven marketing right now because the tech is still too new and it is still too evolving. So there's a really interesting opportunity on the table for those that lean in and really understand the opportunities that AI offers you to do better marketing work. And I saw the most wonderful quote, and I'm going to butcher it if I try and recall the stat, but it basically said that, what AI is allowing marketers to do now is to make room for more of their exciting work. And that's certainly been the case for me. I love that. So my quest has been to look at my task list, to look at my daily commitments and say, what if this work is routine and repetitive? What if this work is insanely time consuming that could be automated or taken care of or supported by AI? And where are there tactical opportunities where I could use AI to do something, augment my own thinking or skills in a way that I otherwise wouldn't be able to do in a short space of time? So I'm taking that lens on everything I do. And it has made a fundamental shift in the way I approach my work, the results I'm able to achieve, and the impact that I'm able to have. So without getting into the specifics, I just want to land that I 100% have seen a difference in my excitement, my engagement, my impact because of my ability to leverage AI across the work that I do. I'll pass over to Simon to add in his thought.
Completely echo that. If you'd have spoken to me a couple of years ago, you'd have found quite a sort of cynical marketer. I was feeling a little bit kind of disheartened by some of the things that we were seeing in the industry, particularly around the platforms. But I've completely kind of refreshed my perspective, and I think I feel very optimistic about it with some provisos, right? So the optimism is reflects what Claire's saying. It's the opportunity to get rid of the dull, repetitive tasks that grind you down, reporting, putting stuff together, trying to find what the grain of what was interesting in the hour and a half meeting that we've been in, and putting those actions. All of those things do free us up and have definitely freed me up. And I think that's freed me up to really sort of address some of the fundamentals that sometimes in digital marketing we miss because of our relentless focus on tech and connection and data and all that sort of stuff, which is kind of the human stories, those human connections. So really kind of leveraging our empathy in terms of how we think about how we connect to people, but then how we skillfully use these sorts of tools. And that brings us on to kind of the proviso, which I think, and the other opportunity, which is to really lean into our values, our morals, and our purpose, right, as people, and to make sure that the systems and the approaches and the content we put out there reflect that. And that is about ethics, right? So actually we are all ethical, even if you don't believe it to be. But what AI is revealing is that actually we really value our human sense of what's right and wrong. And so that's why there's still this opportunity for marketers, despite AI doing lots more stuff, is actually we still want humans to help guide what connection really looks like and what we shouldn't be doing and what we should be doing. So for me, my quest for digital marketers become, how do I see more of my values and what I care about happening in the world? How do I use these tools to support that? And how do I make sure that my use of these tools and other tools doesn't undermine it? And so that's why this sense of ethics is becoming so strong, is because ethics is really a process of questioning, discovering, and defending our values. And that's such a wonderful human thing to do, that's partly why I'm so excited at the moment. But it requires thinking, critical thinking, and new frameworks and mindsets. These are all the things that we talk about on the course, on the Career Accelerator. It's like, what are the mental models and ways of working so that we can seize this opportunity? So that's how it's reshaped it. It's kind of revitalized it. There's lots that's difference, of course, but it's brought to the fore these really important human things and actually really fundamental, almost philosophical thinking. And I'm really leaning into that.
Thank you both. Moving on. So now we're going to look at AI in action and some real world case studies. Essentially, we want to look at how brands are leveraging AI and data to drive real results. So the examples that we have here are highlighting kind of the tangible impact AI can have on digital marketing. So Euroflorist achieved a 4.3% increase in website conversion through AI-driven multivariate testing. Starbucks, Deep Brew AI, so personalized marketing, led to a 15% increase in sales and a 12% higher average transaction value. And then finally, Codeword Agency. So integrated AI interns to streamline repetitive tasks, enhancing team productivity and strategic creativity, kind of what you just touched on, Claire, and some of the areas that you've used AI to focus on. So Claire, question for you. What advice would you offer companies that are looking to integrate AI but are unsure of where to begin?
Sure, I think it is difficult because it depends on who's actually initiating that adoption. But the key is to find a pilot use case and start small and experiment before trying to adopt at a broad scale. So that would be my first piece of advice, is to say, let's identify one quite plausible area of our business that we think we could have significant impact in if we piloted something to do with AI to achieve that. Put strict measurement criteria against that and actually test the impact and benchmark before and after. You want to pilot, you want to benchmark, you want to prove impact before you scale with your AI efforts. Otherwise, you start adopting AI for AI's sake. Excuse me. The other piece of advice I would give is make AI literacy accessible to your teams. So if you are expecting them to embrace AI, you need to give them the tools. So everyone working in marketing should have access to a paid ChatGPT account. Like, if you want someone to be able to do their best work with AI and experiment with stuff, you have to enable them with the tools. Now, with that comes a sense of responsibility. And as Simon will talk to, ethics, because you can't just do this without some sort of guardrails around your company's policy. So setting up an AI council or an AI working group who can guide policy and build guidelines for usage and responsible and ethical usage internally, that's brand aligned, is also pretty critical before you do any of this. I did want to just add to that third case study in terms of, if a company is leaning in or a marketing team is leaning into adopting AI, one of the easiest ways to start is what that Codeword Agency did. And yesterday, I actually delivered a masterclass for our AI learning track on the Digital Marketing Accelerator, Career Accelerator, on that topic, is building custom GPTs as marketing assistants. I find that to be one of the most impactful and simplest pilots for a marketing team today. And so those are the types of topics we explore in the AI learning track as part of the Career Accelerator to do exactly what Codeword achieved there. I'll let Simon add to that.
Yeah, I think kind of always, I mean, not that many people are asking that precise question. I think precision is really important in saying, what do we want to do, right? Because actually AI should always be about solving a problem or taking advantage of an opportunity. So I completely agree with what Claire's saying. And there's nothing else there's nothing I would disagree with. No, actually, I'm going to slightly disagree. I think ethics absolutely should be a starting point. And by ethics being a starting point, I think a brand and organization has to know its values, the values that it shares and has in common with its community. And then it has to think about what are the potential risks to that community or to those values by using AI. And so 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to be okay, but it's the 1 time out of 10 that you don't think about something that you're really, really going to upset something. And we all know that all it takes, one person complaining is a lot louder than 10 people who agree with you. That's always the case. You always hear much more negativity. So that's a really fundamental thing. So certainly there are a few things before. So yes, be really clear about your policy, right? How do you know that the content that you're creating with AI is accurate, is good, is not weird or toxic in some way? And there's been lots of examples where that has been the case. And that leads to the other thing you need to be careful of, which is if you are using data to power an AI for automation, can you trust that data, right? Do you know where that data's come from? Do you know that data's still going to be there in a couple of weeks' time? Is it coming through at the right pace? And so this is where we get into organizational aspects like data governance. So data governance is how you manage the flow of data so that it's there when you need it. And then just a bit of forward thinking. So actually sort of critical thought, forward thinking. What does this mean? What might happen in the future? So I think we do need to be quite risk averse because of the pace at which AI can do things, right? It's kind of like, yes, it's great to have your AI intern, but you're not going to completely let them loose on everything that you've got. So those guardrails are really important. And again, it's not saying stop. It's just saying generally slow down. Let's talk about what we're trying to do here. Let's do all the things that Claire said, but let's make sure that we're doing this in the right way that creates value and avoids harm. And so that's why kind of ethical frameworks, like the data ethics canvas, consequence scanning toolkits, all of these things. A final word on that is the other thing is just to say, you know what, don't rely on regulation because that does not equal ethics. You can still do things with AI that are in line with the law, but actually they can be seen as weird or off-putting or just a bit icky.
Thanks, Simon. We've got another poll that I'd like you all to participate in, and the question is: are you currently using AI in your marketing efforts? I can see here in the chat, Amari made mention that they started a new job last week, and the first thing I did was create a custom GPT for the content I write. Really, really great example. If everyone else can answer this poll, be really interested to hear. So are you currently using AI in your marketing efforts? Yes, actively, somewhat, but not consistently. And no, but you're interested, or no, and you don't plan to. Keen to hear more as we keep rolling as well. So what are the must-have AI and analytics skills for marketers? If you want to future-proof your career, learning these AI and analytic tools is essential. Employers are increasingly looking for marketers who can leverage data-driven decision-making. We saw that in the statistics earlier. Claire, a lot of professionals worry about AI impacting marketing creativity. So how can marketers effectively balance AI-driven automation with creativity and brand authenticity?
I think, there's this principle of human in the loop, and that you should never blindly use the output of an AI as your final product. So the principle I always like to take is thinking about working with AI as a very inexperienced intern who I'm briefing and leveraging to get me, through, the blank page syndrome, helping me complete the task to a 60-70% degree. But that human creativity is what is necessary for the final mile. And that is where you're going to we have to remember that AI's capability is simply to produce what is average. It can only produce what is average because that is what it's trained on, the average data that it's trained on. So to take that to exceptional, to take that to creative, to take that to authentic, that is still dependent on the person driving the AI and the person with the thoughts. So I think your human creativity is critical, and it's where you can really use AI to amplify and augment your capabilities, your creative capabilities. I'll give you an example with coming up with creative concepts. I will often use AI as a sounding board to help elicit ideas for creative concepts that I want to work on for a campaign. That helps me so much to have a thinking partner or a sounding board. It feels weird to say thinking partner when I'm talking about an AI, but you know what I mean. Just having that space where I can go and reflect ideas back and forth until I can form a more creative concept in my own mind and take it that step further. So it's all about the relationship in which you are pairing up your own capabilities and your human critical skills with that technology to get the best end result. Don't ever use the AI output as the final result. It's never going to be the right thing for your brand. It's never going to hit the authenticity that you need. And it's certainly not going to be able to do the creative work that we are known to do as humans. Yet. I'm going to say yet because we have no idea where this stuff is going. So I'll preface it with that. But right now, you are the pilot and your expertise and your creativity matters.
No,
Simon, anything to add?
yeah, no, totally. I think, at its heart, really great marketing and advertising almost reveals an emotional truth about ourselves that we connect with and that's important. And kind of so really appreciating and going deep into that emotional truth is something that AI is not really, capable of yet. And so kind of understanding what that looks like in reality, again, that's what the human loop, in the loop is. And I would add to that kind of the best marketers and the kind of marketers that I love working with and recruiting are people that know how to use those tools, but also have really got strong critical thinking tools. So they really are prepared to kind of not just question AI, but themselves, right? And that's a really important part of this, is to say, am I really producing something that is going to cut through the noise? Because that's the other thing that AI is doing, right? It is, there's so much content out there, right? Everyone can become these if we wanted to, between us now, if everyone was on a ChatGPT, we could create thousands and thousands of blogs about, must-have AI analytics skills for marketers, right? We could do that right now. The one that would cut through would be the one that felt it told an authentic story, right? So that sort of authentic storytelling and really critical thinking together with creativity, and then knowing how to use the tools, that's what will really kind of help people stand out. So that hasn't changed. I think it's just become a lot more important, that kind of yearning for authentic human moments, right? And I think everyone's getting much better at detecting when things are inauthentic and therefore we don't want to connect to. It's not always necessary, but for lots of brands and for lots of products and marketing campaigns, those human moments are very necessary.
Thanks, team. Moving on. So now, how do we upskill for the future? I guess the best way to learn AI is to get hands-on, right? And so AI is evolving very quickly, and marketers who embrace continuous learning will future-proof their careers. There's 3 pathways, as you can see, to building AI and analytics expertise. There's online certifications and structured learning, like our LSE Digital Marketing Career Accelerator. There's Google Analytics Academy. There's hands-on projects and AI experimentation. And thirdly, you can build an AI-driven mindset, a lot of which we, especially when we look at the mindset as well, is incorporated into the LSE Digital Marketing Career Accelerator. Simon, what's your view in terms of the role of hands-on learning and the play on mastering AI and analytics?
I want to sort of add I think yes. So I think they're getting hands-on is the way to go, but don't think that that's going to make you a good digital marketer, right? And I think so. The two things that you need to add to that is a really good understanding of digital marketing strategy, the role that plays in businesses, and why good strategy is important for business. That's something that we focus on the accelerator. Strategy is your map. If you don't have a good map that is built on data, insights, what you know about the customer, what the business is trying to do, you're just going to set off in the wrong direction, and your use of AI could start to misalign with that. So I think really kind of what people should be trying to do is say, okay, what does it take for me to become really good and to understand the fundamentals of marketing, and then how can I use AI to kind of accelerate that, to just sort of, what Claire was saying is like 60% of this comes from maybe AI insights, but the rest of it has to come from me. So really focusing on that and then being able to kind of critically question it. And then along with that, the other thing is to really kind of know the sector. So either have a real passion for it or a good understanding of how things work, because the language that you use, the norms, the kind of the people that you might reference are going to be very different if you're selling a car to if you're selling a email marketing service, which is obvious, but people forget. So that kind of thing is like really strong domain alignment. But I think so. I think with that, so it's basically make sure you equip yourself with the theory, but then also make sure that you put things into practice, because it's obviously by trying and repetition and making mistakes and being guided through that. That's really good. So, and again, don't forget your own guardrails, right? So if you're learning on the job using ChatGPT to create content in a topic you don't know, make sure you've got someone who knows the topic who can look through it to make sure that ChatGPT hasn't hallucinated something that's going to make you sound really weird, and that people who know the field will say, okay, well, they just used AI. So I think kind of just knowing your guardrails, practicing, but also know your theory as well.
Thanks, Simon. We've had a great response to the Q&As and the questions. We're really eager to get into those for you now. I've got one more slide very briefly just to discuss with you, and obviously the career impact of AI and analytics. We've reiterated this a few times, and I think there's a few questions on this, but Simon and Claire have touched on it too. But AI is not replacing marketers. It's empowering those who use it. And the fastest growing jobs in digital marketing require AI and analytics expertise. You can see there a couple of the examples of potential career paths as well. Let's jump into the Q&A. We've got a range of questions to go to. And firstly, and also the attendees, you can upvote. So if you have a look in the Q&A function, there's certain questions that you'd like to hear the response to, please upvote. There hasn't been too much of that yet, and there are a lot of questions. So if you can all jump in there and engage a little bit more, that would be really useful. Otherwise, I'll start from the top. So how do you decide where the line is in terms of how much you use AI and where you, as the human, the individual, take over? It can be used to do so much, but how do you know when to use it and when not to?
Happy to start on that one. So I think, this comes down to understanding the limitations and the capabilities of the AI tools that you're using. So for example, LLMs like ChatGPT, they struggle with things like ensuring factual accuracy. They hallucinate. So you need to know about that. So don't depend on an AI tool for something that is factual. they're not good with up-to-date information and current events. You have to be careful when you're thinking about work in any of that sort of content or space. They're not particularly strong on complex, logical reasoning and strategy and math, although they are getting better with the advent of the reasoning models. And that is an area that the future tech of agents is quite reliant on. So I know a lot of the AI houses are focusing on increasing their abilities in that area, but you should never hand off a strategy to an AI. You still need to be working in partnership with that AI and use it as a strategic partner or soundboard, but never defer to the AI to lead the strategy. It's never going to have the amount of context and experience that you do. So, these are just some of the loose examples of thinking through the way that you need to partner sensibly and responsibly with an AI tool to get your work done. AIs or LLMs are not good at deep understanding of context and nuance. You're going to have that. So don't depend on an LLM for that. They are subject to bias, so they're not good at representing diversity. So be careful on that. They can't always remember information beyond the current conversation. So they're going to be biased in that regard. And they're not good at genuine emotional understanding. I think Simon was talking to this earlier. So the emotional human components are not going to be able to be replicated by AI at this stage. So it is about getting familiar with the capabilities and limitations of these tools, and then knowing how those can either enhance or restrict the type of work that you're pairing yourself with an AI to perform. Hopefully that helps. It all comes with experience of using these tools. The more you use them, the more you figure out what they're good at and what they're not. One thing I will also just mention is I've seen a lot of marketers fall victim to what we call automation bias, which is where we take the output of the AI tool as being the right thing and the truthful thing and running with it because we're biasing to action and speed. And because AIs are prone to hallucination and they're not good with facts and they're not good with emotional reasoning and not good with context, you can run into some very risky situations. So be very conscious of running too casually with an output of an LLM.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I'm going to use a bad metaphor, but I'm going to try it anyway. It's like, even if you gave me the best tennis racket in the world, I'm not going to get into Wimbledon this year. I'm not going to get anywhere near Wimbledon this year. In fact, I'm probably not even going to win a match this year. That's how bad my tennis is. But, right, and it's the same with AI, right? AI is not going to make you a good digital marketer. In fact, trying to use AI in the absence of a really good understanding of what the model is doing, as Claire was saying, the limitations in the data and other potential risks, particularly as it's applied to a specific domain, so like a sector or an audience, let's say, so, if you're targeting, for example, under 16s, that sort of thing, there are so many risks involved in that kind of just stumbling around using it is just not an acceptable thing, particularly not in marketing because our work is so visible. And so that's why kind of that really good domain knowledge is, I think, the prerequisite, as is that kind of just that ability, just as like Claire was saying, to go, do you know what? I'm not sure if I know if that's right or wrong. And if you're not sure, you can't rely on it. So I think that's where that kind of critical thinking is really important as well. So yeah, I'm completely on board with what Claire was saying.
Thank you both. Good start. And thank you to the audience. You have started to upvote, which is very useful. We are limited with time. Obviously, we want to get to as many of the questions as we can, but the upvoted questions we are prioritizing. So next question, could you give a few examples of how you use your AI tools on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, so research, ideation, proofreading, that's so things like ChatGPT, and I use things like, so I actually think Gemini is better for research. So I use Google's tool Gemini for a bit of research. I do use ChatGPT for some sort of gentle data analysis as well. I have a few clients that are using automation as well, so that has a degree of AI built into it. So a client is using the CRM tool HubSpot, and what they're using AI for is to actually generate content, automated content emails, basically. So there's just a little bit of kind of customization based on individual preferences. So the thing that I was talking to you earlier about, what do you prefer and how do we kind of message different people is based on that client. So it's effectively trying to understand that generally someone like Claire prefers generally this sort of messaging. And so it is that idea of kind of just slightly adjusting things. And I think that's where the best uses are. It's almost like it's just getting you that bit closer to something that's really good. You're not trying to go the whole way with AI. But yeah, I mean, just basic. It's a really good sounding board as well as, I used it just this morning because I was really worried about something. And I just like, hey, can you help me find a different perspective on this issue? And because there was no one else around, I was here at home, and I was just like, okay, what am I going to do about this? And actually it came up with quite a cute response, which I won't share, but it was quite nice.
I'll quickly build on that. I basically do everything that Simon does as well. I mentioned earlier that within my team, we have a team of AI assistants that are built as custom GPTs. And those have been strategically designed to support us on repetitive tasks and time-consuming tasks to help us do more efficiencies in those areas. So if you happen to be on the LSE Digital Marketing Career Accelerator, you will learn how to build those sort of custom GPTs as part of the AI learning track. That's what the masterclass was about that I spoke about earlier. So that's one of my favorite use cases. And another tool that I use very extensively is called Notebook LM. If you haven't looked at that, I suggest you go and play around. It's a fantastic AI tool for research and for more fact-based work. So I'll just leave that there.
I just want to add, another one which I sort of touched on earlier, which was in our cohort. My cohort, the current cohort that's going through Digital Marketing Accelerator. We've hit some sort of quite interesting sort of analytical issues, and some of those we resolved quite quickly using ChatGPT live in classes. So, we were able to do some really cool things that we just wouldn't have been able to do, like, hey, should we see if we can identify clusters of customers in this massive data set? And actually, ChatGPT did a pretty good job of it. We had to refine it, of course, but actually as a sort of initial, hey, does this look right? What's interesting here? And what we identified was a new potential cluster of customers that we weren't explicitly or wasn't being explicitly targeted. And so that revealed a new opportunity. And so actually just being able to grab some data, chuck it at ChatGPT with some clear prompts, identify the independent and the dependent variables, that sort of stuff. We were sort of pleasantly surprised. And so, like you, Claire, we are kind of actively using it in class. Not always, but on occasion, we're kind of saying, okay, well, what can we get? What insights can we get? And again, we're just being clear, don't lean on it, but actually kind of give you something that maybe perhaps you hadn't thought of before, which is cool. Yeah, just to say, regression analysis is a really complex statistical technique otherwise, which is far beyond most people. So yeah, that's why I think it's cool.
Thanks, Simon. And next one, you both pretty much to an extent answered this, but I think this question, like if you've just got a little brief list of the AI tools that you're using. So what are the top AI tools for email marketing in your experience, especially regarding analytics? Do MailChimp and Klaviyo provide sufficient AI capabilities, or are there better alternatives? Essentially, which tools excel in segmentation?
I think you're seeing a lot of people do manual segmentation work using LLMs like ChatGPT and or building more custom applications using the ChatGPT API to support segmentation work at this point. However, it's likely that a lot of the email tools have native AI capabilities now, and they are advancing in the space. So your HubSpots, your Salesforces, the bigger tools I know do offer AI-based segmentation opportunities now, and I think we're going to see more of that. So my biggest call out here is to keep an eye on the product roadmap of whatever email marketing tool you are using, or whichever CRM system you are using, because it's likely that the AI-based segmentation capabilities are going to be native to the tool, and you won't have to rely on external tools for that work moving forward.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think this is where tools, so I do a lot of work in HubSpot. That's what my agency focused on. HubSpot is a CRM specifically designed to help people grow from sort of startups to big enterprises. And I think the advantage that a system like HubSpot has over something like MailChimp is the kind of deep insights across your database of people. And so that's really where we're sort of seeing AI become very interesting for things like email, is that you can use insights from across a broad population to inform very specific things, whether it's the messaging or the sequence of messaging, that kind of thing that you send out in email. So it kind of comes back to, if you've got really good data sources, then the opportunities to use AI to either to automate or to personalize or whatever it might be become much more significant. And you know, AI is powered by data. Without data, there is no AI. And so where you can connect those two things together. So that's why something like HubSpot have been able to really kind of leverage AI quite quickly, and they were doing this before even ChatGPT had come out. You know, so things like picking up signals from your database about potential purchase and then enrolling someone into a customized sequence of emails, you know, that is the sort of thing that we can now do quite quickly. And I think that's where you kind of have to just think about, okay, where's my data and where am I emailing people from? And you need to get those things closer together. So I can't actually comment on MailChimp and Klaviyo, but I know that it you know, it is one of the biggest use cases in AI.
Thank you. We've probably got scope for one, maximum two more questions, team, and then we've got another 5 minutes before we jump off after these remaining questions. Claire very kindly has offered she'll do a content piece answering all remaining questions that we don't get to on this call. As a part of the post-event communications and email, we'll get those responses out to you as well. So don't stress if we don't get to your questions. We will get around to it. Another one is, so can you provide practical examples with using AI for personalization?
Yeah, and I think I mentioned that one earlier, which is, I mean, personalization is really giving people the appropriate message at the appropriate time. Really, it's kind of what people expect. You know, there's nothing worse than getting an email that's saying, Simon, it's time to renew your car insurance when I don't have a car, for example. And so, I mean, that's really what that is. It's saying, okay, this person has this set of interests. I can tell that by looking at the data that we have about them. And so therefore I'm going to send this email. And that's really kind of how that's a great example. So for example, people are using HubSpot to do live lead scoring or predictive lead scoring. And then based on the fact that we say, okay, well, that person looks like they're ready to be a lead, they're engaging with us, they're the right kind of customer for us. It seems like they're ready, you know, they're clicking on the website. So let's send that person a really clear email based on what we know about them and based on interest. And so gathering all those signals together and then sending out an email automatically, that is really what personalization about, because it's about timing and appropriateness of content. And so for me, that's it's a simple thing, and it automates element of it as well, right? So the automatic lead scoring is done in the background, and then, you know, often you might have a human in the loop to sort of say, yeah, that makes sense, but not always. And I'm sure we've all experienced that as well. Excuse me.
Great. I've got one more question before we jump in here, and I'll give everyone very quick overview of the Digital Marketing Career Accelerator. This question, though, final question from the Q&A, should be a quick one. It's been mentioned a few times from Claire and Simon around where you've used AI to take away tedious, repetitive examples. Sarah's asked, they're looking for inspiration, really. So what exactly were these tasks that you were able to use AI for?
So in my instance, I can think of any repetitive email sequences. So where there is a consistent template that's used to draft an email campaign. So we have almost operationalized and templatized that process to make the output of that sequence of emails easier to get at scale. Coming up with growth experiments or multivariate testing experiments. So actually having a custom GPT that helps us conceptualize and plan an experiment log, that helps accelerate that. What are other repetitive tasks? Social media posting. So taking an event like today, and you want to repurpose this content into a bunch of social media posts, having a custom GPT where you could feed it this information and have it spit out a bunch of content ideas or posts that you can then work with and edit. That would be seen as something that's a repetitive or time-consuming task. Simon, any ideas spring to mind for you?
I mean, I'd agree with all of those. I mean, for me, the most repetitive and time-consuming task that we did in our agency was reporting, and so we started to automate and use AI in elements of that as well. So, kind of when something changed, we would have an AI bot that effectively alerted us to a change in the data and would point us to a report. But by change of the data, I mean a significant change, like an email marketing campaign that had a low open rate, for example, which you might not always, hopefully you'd pick up, but it would kind of start to say. And then again, just using AI to automate elements of testing. Again, like sorry, what you were saying, Claire. I think you just said this. So multivariate testing, which is like a really great technique. So saying which of these creatives generates the most conversions, and then actually just sort of doubling down on maybe two. So you move into an A/B testing scenario, that type of thing, and then just spotting gaps. What are we missing here? What else could you think of? So kind of that kind of coming in at the end and saying, what else could you do? There are loads. I'm sure I think about 5 other things that I'm kind of just doing instinctively every day to help. But yeah, kind of, and just sort of answering questions as well. I think sometimes it's like actually, it can help you answer repetitive questions.
Thank you both, much appreciated. Thank you so much, everyone, for the engagement. We will, as I said, get to the remaining questions that haven't been answered. With the remaining 2 minutes that we do have, we wanted to give you a bit of an overview of the LSE Digital Marketing Career Accelerator. You can download the brochure if you haven't inquired yet or received any information regarding it in the chat there. But it's a careers first program. We're looking to help individuals, whether you're looking to advance your career in digital marketing or even start it. We can support you in either of those scenarios. And the way that we do that, it's very holistic in its approach. The LSE has led and built the design of the content in collaboration with industry. So you're getting a blend of academia and industry. What that creates is project-based learning. You can see here on the screen, there's 3 courses. We've spoken a lot today, obviously, about the importance of data, which is in course 2. You've got the essence of digital marketing, obviously, in course 1, so all the fundamentals, and then looking at impactful digital marketing in course 3. In your 4th and final project, so those first 3 courses are individual projects that you'll submit, but there's then a small group-based employer project at the end where you apply what you've learned to a project-based real-world scenario with a pool of organizations that we work with. Those projects will make up your practical or digital portfolio of evidence, which allows you to very confidently showcase, storytell, and visualize the skills, the projects, the experiences that you've obtained. So again, whether that's a promotion with where you're currently working or looking at a new role, that's really valuable in you being able to showcase your skills. You can see alongside that at the bottom, there's the AI learning track. Claire, who's provided great insights today, she hosted one recently, as we spoke about. And of course, Simon would be one of your main academic supports throughout the program as well. And, evident your knowledge and enthusiasm, Simon. It'd be great to learn from you. Alongside that, there's executive style career coaching. So a really significant point of difference when we talk about being a careers first program, then alongside your learning, you're provided and supported with all of the skills and tools you need to be self-sufficient then in achieving your intended career outcome. We've got 4 intakes per year. The next one is the 14th of April. We always have limited placements. So really from here, it's download a brochure if you haven't. Otherwise, if you are in our system already, please book a call with your enrollment advisor. There's the link in the chat as well. It's an exploratory conversation. So it's a starting point for us to really understand what you want to achieve, if it aligns with what the outcomes are of the program. And from there, then we support you in whatever your ideal timeline is. Thank you so much. That's the end. Thank you so much, Simon, Claire. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for your engagement. We'll get to the questions. Look forward to hearing your feedback. Have a lovely afternoon.